Hey everyone, JVD here from the Villains Man, bringing you another comic book review over Thanos, issues 1 through 6, volume 2, titled Thanos Returns. There's not a whole lot to this book. I think it's just to get more towards the future. Here recently, kind of figuring out everything with the new popular character with this book. I wanted to start reading it real fast. But I've always been a big fan of Thanos. Here recently with Infinity War, I'm pretty sure a lot of other people will. And it's a great character. If you ever read any of the Jim Starlin stuff, he created the character. Everything he's ever done has almost been on such a galactic, cosmic scale of epic proportions. And he's about the only character you consistently get anything like that from. Now, the book's got two main points to get to. The first one is Thanos' son Thane, who we found out in Infinity. He's, I guess, half eternal. I think Thanos is called a deviant because he's born with celestial blood, and he's an Inhuman. And you haven't seen him for a while. Well, come to find out, he came to the Black Quadrant, that Thanos rules and Corvus Glaive now rules because Thanos has been off with during Secret War and Civil War II, which it kind of mentions in the beginning of the book. And he is being led by Ebony Maw, who wants the quadrant for himself. And so Corvus Glaive's trying to tell him different, that Ebony Maw's only using him. And anyways, they kill Ebony Maw and they capture Thane. They throw Thane in prison, and there he meets Lady Death, the lover of Thanos for so long, he's always wanted to please, and she's got a secret. She tells him Thanos is dying, and she's wanting to help Thane gain his power back to kill him. So he puts a team together with Nebula, the Champion, and Eros, aka Star Fox, is Thanos' brother, to help them steal something from Terrax, the Terrible Tamer, whichever you prefer to call him, which is a Phoenix egg, and basically give him the power of the Phoenix. The second point, which I've already mentioned, is Thanos finds out he's dying. And it's pretty interesting because, forever he's always been basically cursed to never die by death or immortality, I guess, through his eyes. And that's what always has made him such a cosmic badass to most people. And now he's dying and he can't figure out why, what's caused it. And then eventually, as he goes and meets Mentor, trying to find a cure on the Shi'ar Empire, he kills him. He goes back to the Quadrant. Eventually there he finds Thane, and Thane beats him down with the Phoenix Force, and he can see Lady Death, and he thinks that Lady Death is using him. It's pretty interesting considering, for a year that's all he's ever done is follow Lady Death. Anyways, with the Phoenix Force, it's easy for him to take the Black Quadrant over because earlier in the book, when Thanos had returned, he had killed Corvus Glaive, and he really didn't kill him, and which I'll get to that in just a moment. It's pretty interesting what had happens there. But anyways, Thane, much like his father, now that he has a Phoenix Force, he's got an ego about it, and he even leaves Thanos alive, and almost so he can feel like he's felt through all this time since he's found out, he's the child of Thanos. So it's a pretty interesting, I guess, first arc to what the future holds, which I know very little of except for that all-important character that's got a really high-priced book on eBay right now. Some interesting notes about the book, which I mentioned, Corvus Glaive dying at Thanos. He tries to fight Thanos. He knows he can't. Thanos breaks his spear, and Corvus Glaive mentions to him, that's my life, my source of my life. I can't live without it, I'll die. And Thanos is like, since you've been loyal all these years, you can either kill yourself with it, or, you can suffer at my hands. And Corvus Glaive, being under Thanos for years, takes the coward's way out, kills himself. I was really happy to see the Champion kind of step into a role like this. For years, especially with like Deadpool, since Deadpool's popular, he's kind of become part of a joke character, and I kind of hate that. If you ever read any of the older Thanos stuff, before Infinity Gauntlet, And even when he fought Thanos during Thanos Quest, he's always been this powerhouse, really strong cosmic character. And I was really kind of hoping we would get that here, and well, you kind of don't. When he gets captured and thrown in prison with Thane by Corvus Glaive, he's still back to being weak, I guess. That's the bad thing about these characters, is depending on the writer, and for instance, Solomon Grundy from DC is really bad about it. He's going toe to toe to Superman, or he's getting body slammed by Batman. And at the beginning of this book, when Thane is pulling these guys together to do this job to steal this Phoenix Force egg, that's what I was kind of excited about. I was like, man, Champion's going to be putting this, badass role again, and no, it's so far nothing. And then you get to where you find out they're going to steal the egg from Terrax. And that got me excited, because Terrax, kind of like the Champion, has been this jobber for years now. And I was really hoping to see him in a role that, he's going to kick some ass, which he gets beat by Eros, aka Star Fox. He got a blast. It doesn't hurt him. But, so hopefully here soon you'll see that, because, at one time he was a Herald of Galactus. He was on the level of like Silver Surfer and Fire Lord and Red Shift and all them. He was a really feared character. One thing what I thought was interesting about him having the egg is the last time of importance you see Terrax is at the beginning of all the Avengers versus X-Men or AVX stuff, is the Phoenix Force wipes out his home planet and he's presumably dead. And now he actually has the egg for himself and is wanting to unlock its power, which he can't figure out how. So I thought that was really interesting, because here I was talking about that, he's been this jobber and now he's got this source of power that he wants. So, maybe that was his intentions, was he's realized that basically he's a chump now and he needs to do something about it. It's really neat to see how people want to step up to Thanos now that he is sick and he is weak, especially when he went to go find Mentor, his father, to see if he could help him with a cure. And, the Shi'ar, which the planet that, I think it's a moon that Mentor's on with his science group, they're protected by the Shi'ar Empire. It's in Shi'ar's space. And the whole Imperial Guard shows up, because at first you just think you're getting just a regular Imperial Guard. No, it's like every member. And then when they think they've got him, of course Thanos starts to get the upper hand. They call in Gladiator, and Thanos knows, like, oh shit, I'm weak, I'm screwed. So it's nice to see Gladiator. I've always liked Gladiator as a character, and it's nice to see him kind of get a role like this where he's actually plays an important part of something, and he's not bowing down to Vulcan and not showing his full power because, I serve the Empire and all that other crap. Getting back to that, there's something that's really interesting in this book, and I don't remember if it's I think it's the third issue. Between the story, as they're telling the story, you get almost like an interview, and one of them's basically a first responder for emergencies, and you get to hear her story of how she watched Thanos blow up Titan, and how she's never been scared of any emergency since then because she thinks she has watched the worst thing that there could be. And then another guy was a childhood friend, I wouldn't say friend, but a child that played with Thanos when he was a kid, and how he never thought that he would turn into what he was. And then you get Pip the Troll, and how no one ever believes Thanos has done this, but I've been there for most of it. And then you get Gladiator, and they're talking to Gladiator about him. And Gladiator does the whole, I have to go now, I'm being needed, and that's what it was for, was to go knock out Thanos. So that was pretty interesting in itself. Other than that, there's not a lot of high points in the book. It's almost like this whole arc's a setup. It's a really quick read. Oh, that was something I really thought was interesting. When they're telling the story of Thanos, and you're not getting anything about Thane, the way that the panels are drawn, almost everything's gridded, and the grid shifts off a panel that doesn't have a dialogue in it, and there's still part of the panel there. It's really neat. I thought that was a really neat way to tell the difference between Thanos as part of the story and Thane's part of the story. I thought that was really cool, and hopefully as this book continues, you'll get more of that, which I do believe at a certain point after this, the writer switch, Jeff Lemire doesn't write it anymore. But it's really good. I'm really curious to see where this next arc goes for, considering after it I have an idea of what's going on. But I do recommend reading this. Almost anything with Thanos solo wise is usually written really, really well. But I'm JVD with the Villain's Demand. Keep reading, guys.